Thank you for coming, and thank you to those of you who are watching and joining us online. This is our third town hall meeting, and I'm excited to participate, and I'm pleased that you could join us this afternoon. There are a couple of housekeeping items before we begin. First, if you have a cell phone, please turn it to silent. Keep it near you because we do want for you to be able to participate in the interactive portion of today's program. Secondly, we've reserved 20 minutes for Q&A during our presentation or our discussion this afternoon. So if you have questions, please hold them until then. We do have microphone runners, so when you have a question, raise your hand. The runner will come to you, and be certain to speak into the microphone so that we can hear you. With that, I would like to turn over our program by introducing Executive Constantine.
Thank you, Sandy. Thank you, Sandy, and thanks to everyone for being here today. My voice is a little rough today. I think you might all know why. If you're watching it on a replay later on, it's because yesterday was the big Seahawks parade, and I was joining with 700,000 or so others in screaming my head off. So we'll see how the next hour goes. I want to thank you all for joining us in person or online. There are folks watching live online as we speak. Before I begin, I want to say a little bit about the Seahawks parade and rally yesterday. You know, I was a high school kid and attended the Sonics rally when we won the championship in 1979. And yesterday, I got to, you know, by good fortune, be able to help lead the parade. 700,000, maybe more people got home safely. They enjoyed their day and they got home safely. And it went smoothly in large part due to the work of some great King County employees from across many departments. Yes, the Sheriff's Department and obviously our Metro employees, but many others as well. So I want to thank all of you who helped make the biggest gathering in the history of the state of Washington an unqualified success. Thanks to all of you. So this is the first employee town hall that we've hosted here at home in the Chinook building. The first two are up the street a little ways at the Seattle Public Library. We are always looking at how to improve this format to make sure you, our employees, are getting the most out of it. We made a few changes to make it more interactive. So new today, I will ask some poll questions, and you can register your responses online or via text message or Twitter. So when Sandy said to turn your phones to silent, that didn't mean to put them in airplane mode, right? Be ready to respond if you have your smartphone with you. We will have a prize drawing. I'm told it's at what, a Caribbean cruise? Is that what it is? No? No. We'll have a prize drawing for those who submit. So we're going to start right off. First poll question. This is our third employee town hall. How many have you attended or seen, including this one? A, 1, B, 2, or C, 3. You can see the instructions for responding right here on our screen. You can vote online via Twitter or by text message. Please include your name so that you can be entered in the prize drawing. You'll have until Friday, February 14th to respond. So again, some folks are going to be watching this in the coming days. They will be able to play along with you for that Caribbean cruise. I'll give you a few seconds to get this done. I'm assured we don't have to pay royalties on this. Okay, that's enough. So let's take a quick look at your responses on the screen. So we have a lot of folks in the group. Well, a lot meaning 9 so far, who are attending for the third time. So keep your responses coming. We'll be registering these all throughout this hour and from now until the close of business on Friday, February 14th. So after October's town hall meeting, we surveyed employees about what topics you wanted to hear at the next town hall. Overwhelmingly, you said you wanted to know more about using lean and new technologies to improve service to customers, both internal and external. As you listen, if you have a question about these two topics, please send it via email or Twitter. You can email it to employeetownhall@kingcounty.gov. That's employeetownhall@kingcounty.gov. Or tweet your question with the hashtag KCTH. That's hashtag KCTH. Or another new thing. You can use Link to send an instant message to the Employee Town Hall. We'll get to your questions in the last part of the hour. First, we'd like to explore the two topics that you raised after our last meeting with our employee panels, and then we'll have some time to answer your general questions. Our first topic today is lean. What is lean? Some have a good understanding, others might still have questions. Perhaps you have seen lean visuals around your workplace, the whiteboard or the butcher paper with the green, yellow, or red dots or long strings or post-it notes and marks showing different processes. Perhaps you know someone who's participated in a week-long Kaizen event, or your work group may be getting ready for one. Or perhaps you heard me or a colleague talking about lean, and you want to know why we've brought lean thinking to King County and what's in it for you. Well, the best way to explain lean and why we're using it is to hear from our employees. They have used lean principles in their workplaces, and they can show the real benefits to employees and to customers. Today we're going to hear from three panelists who will talk about how jail health services and adult detention used lean to provide better, more efficient mental services in the jail. And we'll learn how to use lean to improve service delivery to your customers. So our panelists are Dr. Ben Sanders, Director of Medical Services, Jail Health Services; Denotra McBride, Program Manager for Department of Adult and Juvenile Detention; and Jay McNally, Continuous Improvement Specialist, King County Executive's Office. So Ben, let's start with you. Why has lean been important to the way you do your job in the jail?
Well, from the standpoint of a clinician providing medical services, and in this case psychiatric services, to a very sick, very vulnerable population, those who are actually in the psychiatric housing in the jail, what's important to me about what we've done using lean is we've actually decreased the focus of our clinical staff on wasteful processes, and increased the proportion of the clinical staff's time actually delivering healthcare services to this population. From a clinician standpoint, that's really, really rewarding, because I and my colleagues don't like spending time on waste, on junk. We would much rather give services to the people that we're there to serve. So that's the reason it's important to me.
Great. So Denotra, what is it like for employees to engage in lean process improvement? What happens? Tell us what happens at a lean event.
To be honest, the best way I can describe what it's like to go through a lean event or a process improvement is it's very similar to going through a home improvement. And I've actually never been through a home improvement, but I watch a lot of HGTV. So watching it kind of gives me a feel for how that works. But it's similar in that the employees actually focus on one goal, and their primary goal is to basically meet the customer needs and requirements. So you're looking at a process from beginning to end. A process may go across disciplines, it may go across departments, and you gather all the right people who actually do the work in one place or in one forum and talk about the process. And so if I give you an example of a basic 4 or 5 day Kaizen event, it has basically 5 steps to it. So step 1, you're being armed with the lean tools and lean training to understand some of these lean concepts that you've heard, but you don't know what they mean. So for example, 5S, Ben talked about waste, 3 actuals. You hear about these terms, but you get the real understanding of what they are and how to apply them to a process. Step 2, you get to talk about the current process. And one thing I always hear in these events from staff is, I had no clue or no idea how much what the decisions I make or what I do, how much it impacts others. So you learn from one another, and you get to learn about the process in more detail, in more depth than you would a normal meeting. Step 3, you develop a future state process. So you learn about lean, you want to eliminate the waste from the process, and you want to come up with an ideal future state. And the 4th and 5th steps involve an implementation plan and a measurement plan. So before you leave a workshop or a process improvement, you want to know how to go step by step with implementing that future state process and also measuring it to make sure you're on target. And if you're off target, you have to come up with a plan of how you're going to get back on target. So basically, that's the basic process you go through. From an emotional standpoint, it's very emotional up and down. People are wedded to their processes. They have a lot of investment in them, or they've been doing them for 15 to 20 years. And so it can be very emotional and very tough for people. But in the end, you have this future state vision and process that you've agreed upon, and you're meeting the customer needs.
Great. So, Denotre and Ben, you make lean sound really good, but that doesn't mean it's really easy. What challenges have you come across, and how have you addressed those challenges? Either one of you, go ahead.
Well, coming at it from the 2 different departments, I can speak to the reality that we had people that were clinicians very concerned that corrections folks were going to create barriers, or were creating barriers for us to do the good work of treating patients. And we needed to get to sick people, and corrections was going to get in the way, and their processes were just going to be barriers to us being effective. Likewise, on the flip side, we had people that were coming into these lean events on the corrections side very concerned that, hey, you and your health staff are going to get in the way of us maintaining safety and security and order in our facilities, because you're going to start making all these exceptions to all of our rules and cause us all kinds of problems. So there was a huge amount of suspicion and distrust coming into the events, and it played out. When we started looking at the processes, how processes evolved were often rooted in some of that distrust and misunderstanding. So that was very difficult. I think what was nice about the lean process for me was that even coming in with all of that and all of that baggage, since we all started focusing on the actual process, we all were walking the processes together. None of us could deny what we were all seeing at the same point. So it took it out of the realm of personalities and the people in the room, and focused on the process itself. And for me, that was really, really rewarding.
Anything else to note?
One thing I want to say is that it's a lot of work. Sometimes people come into these events or process improvements thinking, hey, I'm going to sit back, I'm going to put my feet up, and we're just going to get through this week and it's going to be a breeze. But it's a lot of work, and by the end of the week or the end of the event, you're exhausted, and you've developed all sorts of documentation and deliverables, and then the work starts over again when you start implementing the following Monday or the following week. So just be prepared that it's a lot of work.
Great. So, Jay, our employees have seen many management trends over the years. Flavor of the week, flavor of the month. What makes lean different?
I think there's a lot of answers to that, and I think my belief is that lean has 2 different. Well, let me go back. So my belief is that most of those management methods previously were all focused on process improvement, solely on process improvement. And what lean is focused on, in addition to process improvement, is respect for people. And so the things that you do in order to show respect for people, whether it's the visual systems that these guys talked about, whether it's going to Gemba to make decisions, whether it's giving people permission to do something other than perfection. Try something, do better, try again, do better. Those things that are embodying respect for people are behaviors. And so by practicing those behaviors, you change the culture, which makes it then part of the DNA, part of the organization's DNA. So it's not just a matter of a tool. It's not just a matter of, can we make this process faster, cheaper, better, but can we do this process better, but create a culture where we're doing that all the time, every day.
And I've noticed in more than one of these events, at the conclusion, the employee who is the most resistant going in is the one who's the most enthusiastic about the changes that he or she and the colleagues have made. Is that a common phenomenon?
It's very common because and my assumption is that the reason people are resistant at the front is because they want to make sure that we are providing value. They are focused on that customer value. And so at the end of it, when they see that we are all working together to provide that customer value, they're enthusiastic. We know that we're all working together towards a common goal.
Well, you know, I think there's some common themes running through the comments. Lean gives us tools to identify and eliminate waste, whether it's money or time or effort, so that we spend more of that really helping the people that we came here to serve. Lean, I think importantly, and I think that this is part of what you're saying, empowers the people who are actually doing the work to identify and implement improvements that will generate positive results for the customers. It isn't someone sitting in an executive office changing the processes and then forcing it down through the agency. It's asking the people who have the experience, the knowledge, and the creativity to create the best process for delivering value to our customers. And when we work together, whether in our own work groups or across agencies, there's mutual learning that takes place and mutual discovery, and that drives positive results beyond what any of us could accomplish acting individually. I want to thank all of you for the work you've done and for sharing some of your insights with us today. Let's give our panel a round of applause. So for our next poll question, where did you first learn about Lean at King County? Here are your choices. Gembagram, use the word Gemba. Executive Constantine, use the keyword KC Exec. Your department or agency, you can read them. Employee Town Hall, you were stuck in an elevator with Deputy Executive Fred Jarrett. I'm expecting a lot of responses on that one. Or you don't remember. Please go ahead and register responses by Twitter, by text message, or online. We'll give you 30 seconds now, and then, of course, again, until Valentine's Day, you'll have your opportunity to respond. All right, let's see how you did. Oh, 6 people have been stuck in an elevator with Fred. You doubled my totals, Fred. That's value added.
But they weren't stuck for long in one of our elevators.
No,
right?
your elevators work very well. Thank you. But keep voting. We will love to see your responses. And of course, there is a prize associated with this question as well. So, moving to our next panel. As many of you know, my goal for us is to have King County be the best functioning government anywhere. And I think we have it within our ability to actually do that. Meeting such a goal, though, requires an outstanding IT department. Technology plays a crucial role in lean and continuous improvement in creating service efficiencies. To meet the changing needs of our community and our employees, we must take advantage of technology. Our Department of Information Technology is working hard to keep us connected throughout King County and our region. They are highly skilled, well-trained. It's a group of employees who are moving the county forward with state-of-the-art technology services. Yes. To ensure we're providing ways to continuously improve through technology, we have new tools available at your workplace. These services will allow us to continue to be lean, to consolidate space, to deliver innovative services that are responsive to our community's needs. That's the topic of our second panel, technology tools. So let me introduce our panelists, the Lean Mean Technology team. Belinda Rose is Customer Service Director for KCIT. Kathy Brown is the Department Director for Facilities Management. And Bill Kehoe is the Chief Information Officer of King County. So Belinda, let's start with you. We're building a service-based technology organization that is able to adapt to the changing needs of our business. We're also providing technology that enables mobility, ensuring employees can collaborate and provide services in a way that makes sense. Can you tell us what KCIT is doing about enabling our mobility strategy?
Before I answer that question, I have a question for the audience. Do you need to be at work to get your job done? That's right. We don't think so either.
So there are no bus drivers in this audience then? Okay.
For the most part, most part. KCIT believes that as well, and what we're doing to enable mobility with unified communications, our link offering, that has actually eliminated the need to have carrier conference calls. We now have video calls. In addition to that, we have presence and IM, and we have the way to connect folks no matter where you're at. So that's one area that we're focusing. In addition to that, we have our cloud services strategy. What that's driving is more web-based applications and mobile applications that give us that flexibility that the customers need.
Great. So how can employees learn more about these opportunities?
3 ways. We've actually added some links to the town hall site, our KCIT Service Center, and in addition to that, our service catalog. And also for departments, your SDM.
Which stands for?
Service Delivery Manager.
Okay. I'm really on an anti-acronym campaign. I don't know. It's a losing battle. Kathy, you've been a valuable partner to King County Information Technology as a super user of technology. And I understand you've championed a few ways of doing business, a few new ways of doing business in your department. Why do you think these tools are important, and what efficiencies have you created?
Well, we have an ongoing partnership with information technology, and some of the devices that we use are up there on the slide. Basically, what we've done is we're transforming our workspaces. We're using information technology to leverage flexible and collaborative workspaces. And if you look at the top picture on that slide, that is right outside of my old office. Our director's office was not particularly inviting. It wasn't collaborative. It was a mess. Anybody who wanted to see me had to run a gauntlet of closed offices, get past the secretary and through the closed door. We've moved to more open and collaborative workspaces that you see down below. And that transition could not have happened without the IT infrastructure that we have in place. We use Wi-Fi, we use smart boards, we use SharePoint, bridge lines, Link, Skype, all of those tools. And if you take a look at the bottom left corner on the slide, that's one of our conference rooms. And in all of our meetings now, we use SharePoint. We manage our meetings on a large smart board. We don't hand out a lot of paper. We have interdepartmental teams with collaborative SharePoint sites. That meeting, you see 2 people in the room. There are about 8 people participating in that meeting. So thank you, Bill, and King County Information Technology for your help.
It's okay to say KCIT.
KCIT. Now that we've defined it, KCIT. Don't want the boss mad at me.
That's one of the better names they call us.
Yeah. So, Bill, tell us about the future. What will we be looking at in 2 or 5 or 10 years, and how will IT continue to help our organization?
Great. Well, Mr. Executive, you're an example, a use case, if you will, of the future. Because in one of the first conversations I had with you, you said, I want to access everything from my personal device. Mm-hmm. And that thing in the corner, whatever that is, that desktop, laptop, I don't want to have to use that. So that's an example, I think, of the future. But if you look back at yesterday's parade and the technology that was utilized yesterday by the individuals, the 700,000 plus that attended the parade, and You look back to the '79 Sonics and the technology that was in place in 1979 during that parade. And the difference in technology, it's amazing. So streaming video over the internet, social media. Cell towers were maxed out because everyone was using their devices to take pictures and send those over Twitter and Facebook and via text. That's the technology of the future, and that's the kind of technology that we see in terms of blending your personal devices and your personal technology that you use at home and having that available at work. So you don't want to go to work and go back to the 80s, right? And so more and more we have to have enabling technologies that allow us to communicate just like we're communicating on an everyday basis. More devices that are mobile, more wireless, less having to plug into a wall, and really providing those solutions, cloud solutions, and that's really where we're driving the future.
Great. Yeah, you're right. I did say that. I pointed at the desktop and said I never use this thing. Why are you forcing me to come in here and chain myself to this thing when all of the rest of my world operates either from the phone or sometimes a tablet? And I think that is the direction of the world. I mean, any of you who either are or who have kids know that that people younger than most of us in this room think desktops are incredibly anachronistic, and that they're working wherever they are. They're working, and they're also playing and communicating with others on a small device, on a slightly larger device, but the whole world is their office. And I do most of my work on my phone or on a tablet. They both run Microsoft Office, so I can work on documents and review PowerPoints, access databases wherever I am. I sound just like one of those Microsoft ads. But like many of you, I get a lot of emails. So I can read and send a lot from my phone. They may be very clipped responses, but I can respond. Got to be really careful with the predictive text or autocorrect before you send an official document. Careful on that. And then I use my phone for all the social media that I do. And I know I'm not alone in this. The world is very much, my mother has learned to use the scheduling feature on her iPad mini. So now she can send my brother and me a scheduling request for Sunday night dinner. So for example, in the assessor's office, they're using tablets when conducting property assessments in the field. The Human Resources Division is piloting the use of tablets to deliver online training to mobile workers, and in DNRP, our employees will be using tablets to map GIS data. The point of technology is to help us respond more quickly, better, to collaborate, to work more on the go when necessary, not to be an impediment to us getting something done. So Bill, it sounds like there are a lot of exciting changes ahead. How are we supposed to prepare for those?
Well, that's the challenge. I think with technology, it can come upon us and it can feel like it's being done to us. So our challenge moving forward in this new world is updates, upgrades, changes are going to happen more rapidly. And we as King County, not just KCIT, have to learn how to adapt to that. So more video training. We're not going to be able to train every single person in person. But we have to upgrade, we have to move so that we're not left behind, and then technology is more of a constraint than an enabler. We want it to be an enabler so that our customers can serve their customers, the residents of King County, in a much better way. And so that's going to be a cultural change for King County as we move forward. The other thing is data. We have to harness the data that we have and make it available so that decision makers and staff and the public can look at our data and make better decisions in a much more timely way. So I think we're going to see a lot more around our data, pulling that together and making it real in terms of business decisions that can be made real time and alerts so that we can see things happening before they become real problems.
Great. Well, I know that our employees are going to see a lot of new tools that they can use to improve their efficiency and hopefully make work more satisfying and productive for them, and we're all looking forward to that, and it's coming soon. You know, technology moves quickly, and we want to move quickly as well. And thank you for all the work you're doing to make sure that we get the most out of those technology investments. Let's thank our technology panel. You know, last year our Superior Court looked at how to use technology to improve services to clients, attorneys, jurors, and to the county as a whole. Let's look at how the court's e-courtroom is using technology while we get set up for the question and answer portion of our town hall.
Tucked away on the 8th floor of the King County Courthouse is an old, historic courtroom that now features some very high-tech, 21st century upgrades. A widescreen projector gives jurors and everyone in the courtroom a much better view of video, documents, and physical evidence. The judge controls the screen and everything a jury sees from a remote panel.
It results in a more meaningful presentation of evidence for the jurors and enhance their experience and understanding of the evidence.
And those bulky exhibits, typically towed into the courthouse, well, now they can fit on something a little smaller.
Any type of media that you want to bring, could be pictures, could be audio files, could be video that you've taken a deposition or anything.
A paper easel is still here for illustrating a point.
Walk down these stairs.
But so is something a little more current and paper-free. Speaking of less paper, the bench and counsel teams can view documents remotely at the same time.
And here's another big change. A witness doesn't have to be in the courtroom to testify. They could be in an office, out of state, or even out of the country, and still be heard and seen clearly in the courtroom.
You can also plan for a better sound system with microphones and more built-in speakers. Plus, there's remote high-definition cameras that can focus in on a witness or anyone in the courtroom and stream proceedings live to an overflow courtroom. So while you'll still find Washington's common law bound on a shelf, in King County's e-court, you'll also find tools of the 21st century.
Really interesting stuff. Clearly, when I quit politics, I'm going to have to go back and do law school all over again before I can start working. So we've arrived at the question and answer time. We'll have questions for our panelists first about the topics that they were discussing previously, and then if there's time, we'll just take your general questions. You can email them to employeetownhall@kingcounty.gov or tweet it with the hashtag KCTH. That's hashtag KCTH, and we'll answer as many questions as we can here today live, but any question you ask will be answered through email, I believe. So, Sandy Hanks, Manager of Business Development and Contract Compliance in Department of Executive Services. Thanks for rejoining us, and you're going to read the questions and then field others. So go ahead.
Okay, so we are going to take questions from the audience now. So if you have a question, raise your hand and our microphone runner will get over to you. But in the meantime, let's take a question from email. So for one of our new technology panel members, can we look at developing an interactive tool that allows judges to view the current jail history of someone in custody when determining an alternative to incarceration, such as work release or another programming that may be appropriate? It seems like information should be shared to make the programs as effective as possible.
So I'll take that, and this goes to what I was saying about data, making it available, integrating our data across departments so that our decision makers like judges can make better decisions in a more timely fashion. And that's actually a big part of where we need to go, not with just technology, from a business perspective as well, is that our data is very valuable, not just to us individually within the departments, but to others that are making decisions like this example. And so, yes, we definitely could do that. The technology is not an inhibitor there, but we have to come together, agree to share our data, and then how we're going to present that in the fashion that meets the business requirements, because it's all about the business requirements.
Very good. Thank you. Our next question. How do you plan to keep the King County workforce up to date on new technologies? Let's pose that to Belinda.
Okay, a few different ways. What we're trying to do is ensure that what we mentioned earlier, flexibility and remoteness, we've offered, in addition to Link, we have the Link mobile client. A lot of our customers are not aware of that. We also have recently offered within the Workstation Services team the Lenovo Helix tablet to give portability to those, light portability, and it will replace the workstation. It's robust enough to replace your workstation, your desktop.
All right, thank you. Our next question, a very general one, but do we have a prediction if and when we might be moving to a Windows 8 platform?
I'll take that too. The Workstation Services team has been working, actually, they've been working hard all year to get the new tablet offering. And with that tablet offering, it comes with Windows 8. We are looking in 2014-2015 timeline over the next year to roll that out across the various, across King County. However, we need to make sure that we're testing with the departments to make sure integration, that your applications actually can run on Windows 8.
All right, thank you.
Let me add to that too, as a future-looking thing. In the future, we can't have applications that constrain us from upgrading to operating systems like Windows 8, and that's currently what we have. So our strategy around applications is really to move to more of an app store type model that we're used to with our mobile devices. And that means we have to create more browser-based applications that can really stand the test of time in terms of upgrades, whether it's an operating system or browser-based upgrade. And we have to be very conscious of that as we invest in application modernization. Because right now it's very difficult to move to a new operating system. It requires a lot of application changes. So we have to be more nimble and flexible as we move forward with our application modernization.
Very good. I'm going to turn and see if we have some questions from the audience. I see one right here. If we could have you stand. Thank you.
How do the KCIT strategies support the enterprise-wide equity and social justice goals?
We can, not just equity and social justice goals, but with our mobility strategy and our ability to put technologies in areas that may not have access to information, whether that's a computer or broadband. Technology can play a big role in making sure that we're equitable in our access to information and services that the county provides. And right now, there's a disparity in that in some of our King County areas. And so we really want to partner with our business on equity and social justice so the technology can assist in moving one of Dow's primary objectives forward in his second term.
I could add to that briefly.
That's fine. Go ahead.
Wayfinding is a real important thing for our citizens who come into our buildings, and many individuals speak different language. They have English as a second language, and it is possible to have electronic wayfinding devices throughout buildings, and we've worked with the courts and with KCIT to implement some of those ideas, and we hope to do more of that.
Great.
Okay. We do have a question via email from Janelle, and it seems many of our questions are related to technology, so it is about how we are going to be working in the future. Her question is, can you log into Link without using VPN on a Mac?
Absolutely. we're not, you know, the future is not to specify a current device. In our workstation service, we have we're going to support iPads. We're going to support Windows devices. So we know the future is that a lot of different types of devices are going to be utilized, and we want to support that. It's not one size fits all. It's not the same type of device. However, there's going to be standards across that. And with Link, you absolutely can utilize Link on a Mac. It's not maybe as seamless to configure, but it definitely can be done.
All right. Very good. Thank you. We have another email question for our Lean panel members, one of our Lean panel members. The question is, how are your customers in the jail better off due to Lean? That's the first part of the question.
You want to take it? Want me to?
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay. Well, I can speak to the way that we are delivering services right now. As a result of Lean, I can tell you that from the psych standpoint, the people that we were targeting our Lean improvement work at, coming into the jail, very, very sick, and often unstable by virtue of their mental illness. In our old system, we required a sort of automatic transfer to psychiatric housing for a whole range of questions that were sort of like on a checkbox. What that resulted in was a requirement that we do a suicide risk factor assessment and complete that suicide risk factor assessment for a very large number of people. And what we discovered in actually walking that process is that we were doing a lot of assessment and spending a lot of time on assessing a large number of people, many of whom actually stabilized just by virtue of coming in off of the streets and coming down from drug use that they had recently engaged in. And in fact, what we were discovering was that if we actually moved our mental health assessment more up front and replaced our old process that was checkbox based and sort of risk mitigation based with a more intensive actual clinical assessment at the door, we could actually better target our psychiatric housing and our psychiatric resources to people who actually needed mental health help and not simply a detox time. And so what that allowed us to do was to actually get treatment to people who needed treatment more rapidly and spend less time on kind of meaningless and wasteful assessment of a large group of people who really didn't need to be assessed in that way.
Thank you. Excellent example of how to eliminate waste through Lean. The second part of the question, maybe one of the other Lean panel members can answer, is, are jail inmates really customers?
Oh, I can answer that question. So, and this is actually one of the areas where there was some misalignment between the two departments. So from a jail health or public health perspective, they see the inmates as patients. And we do agree that they are our customers, but from a safety and security perspective, they're inmates or detainees. And so we had this misalignment going into the psych services Lean improvement, but the inmates are truly our customers if we're there to provide safety and security or health care, dental care, et cetera. So I agree that they are our customers.
If I could add, I mean, it's very important for all of us to internalize that construct, that customers aren't just people we vend things to as though you were a clerk at the local department store. Customer is anyone with whom you have an interaction, whether we're providing them with a service or whether we're leading them to the jail to be locked up, or whether it's one of your fellow employees to whom you're providing information or sending a form or any other of the things you do throughout the day. Everybody is a customer, so that when you think of the product that you're providing that customer, you're at the beginning of being able to figure out how to provide a higher level of service. And even if it is just talking about inmates in our jail, prisoners in our jail, if we start to think of how are we going to most efficiently deliver the service we're delivering for that person, we can begin to engage in the Lean way of thinking. And this is one of the things that Deputy Executive Fred Jarrett brought to our attention right at the start of my first administration. We've worked hard to try to internalize that notion. Please.
I want to do a double check to see if we have another question from one of our audience members. Have one up front here.
I had a question for our Lean folks, because you talked about the Lean event being a lot of hard work and then hard work afterwards. And I'm just wondering, do you have some advice for those of us who are planning events to think about what we need to do for the post-Lean event to make sure that we keep that momentum going?
Somebody do that one? Sure. That's a good question, Christy. So there's a few things. One of the biggest things that people stumble on over and over again is the change management communications aspect of it. So everything you can do up front to make people ready for change, ready for either the specific change or just change in general. So that's a big piece. Everything you can do about communication, get your communications methods in place, and get people ready for change. The other thing I think that makes things easier is, actually I'll say two things. Being really clear about what your scope is. Narrow down on a piece of work that you can do and can do quickly. The bigger, obviously, the bigger the project, the bigger the problem you take on, the longer it will take and the more work it is afterwards. I guess the only thing, and I'll look to you guys to see if I'm right on this one. The only other thing is, we know that after the Lean event, we will expect managers to behave differently. They will have to be using visual systems. They will be having to check standard work or check adherence to standard work. There's a few little behaviors that we would expect them to do differently after a Lean improvement. And so to the extent that you can start practicing those things up front before you've changed things, I think that will make things much easier afterwards. You guys want to add anything?
I agree.
Okay.
Great. All right, thank you. We do have another question via email from Catherine. She says, it seems like work and personal life are more intertwined. Are employees expected, given the shift to use newer technologies, to use their personal devices at work?
That's a good question.
Maybe that's a question for
Sure.
Bill?
Borrow your microphone. So in the future, this will be a wireless microphone. We won't be strangling each other with the podium here. So there's a term called BYOD, and I know Dow doesn't like acronyms, but bring your own device. And it's already here, whether we want to admit it or not. We've lost total control. But what we want to do is not inhibit that or try to control it in a way that where people have to leave those at home. What we want is to have good security and records management policies so that as people bring their personal devices in and access apps and browser-based applications that are King County apps, that we have the right policies and security and firewalls and all the things so that it's in a secure and our records aren't compromised. And that's really where we need to go. We're not saying, hey, that's never going to happen. We don't want to deal with it. We're saying it's already here. It's going to be more and more part of our future. Let's make sure that we're ready for it with our policies, with our security, with our records management.
Yeah. And then the other part of the question is, are people going to be required to provide their own computer to do their work? And the answer to that is no.
No, but we do see in the future, long term, that that is a possibility as people come into the workforce. They may not need a county-issued device. That doesn't mean they're not going to get one if they need one. But more and more, we want to have technologies that really don't require a county-issued device.
All right, thank you. This email question is for Dr. Sanders. As you spoke about your Lean project, this follow-up question is, what wasteful activities did clinicians eliminate?
Well, I already spoke to one of them, which was the elimination of much of our sort of rote suicide risk factor assessments that we were doing routinely. Some of the other things that we eliminated were a lot of rework in sort of prepping to see patients. What we discovered in walking the processes was that to prepare to see a highly unstable psychiatric patient, somebody who had been triaged into sort of the most restrictive level of psychiatric housing, that we had a staff member who would routinely on a daily basis come in and sort of look through all of those records, gather up additional information to prepare for the team that was actually going to come in later in the morning and end up actually interacting with the patient. And when we looked at, okay, well, how much value is this adding for the amount of effort that it was taking to do, what we discovered was that the team that was going to actually interact with the patient was preparing in the same way. So we had a clinician who ostensibly was trying to make things easier for the team by spending a lot of time preparing and reviewing outside and inside medical records. And the team was coming in and essentially redoing it to make sure that they were ready to see the patient that they were going to see anyway. So that was another example of a process that we identified that was really 100% waste from the standpoint of was there actually added value to the customer, the actual patient? Was the patient actually benefiting from this clinician's sort of pre-work? And the answer was no.
All right, thank you, and well done. I want to do another check of the audience and make sure that we get to any questions that you may have. All right, I'm going to move to a question via email from Jeffrey. Again, this question is posed to our technology panel. It says, is KCIT ready to purchase technology to protect data in the cloud, like protected health information?
That's a good question.
Belinda?
So with Microsoft's G Cloud, it's HIPAA compliant and CGIS, and that's exactly the direction where we're going, and because of those requirements, that's our solution.
All right, thank you. I think we've got one more email question. Again, IT related. IT tools are one part of the equation. How do we get buy-in from managers for the work anywhere concept?
Maybe our lean folks can answer that question. But yeah, we can provide the tools, but in terms of the policies and how the work gets done, that's obviously not a technology decision, or we shouldn't be making that decision. I can tell you that mobility is rapidly increasing, and we have tools to really enable that. And so teleworking is much, much easier than it was before in terms of attending meetings, whether that's video or voice or whatever that may be. Being able to access your documents, whether that's within the boundaries of King County or in the cloud, that will enable more. So it's really not a question of yes, you can work anywhere and you can do that now. It's a question of, you know, how best do you work within the duties that you have, and some of those do require us to be on premise, and others don't as much. And so that's really an individual department and manager staff conversation.
Yeah. And I would add, I mean, I don't think it's any secret that historically government jobs have not embraced that kind of creativity, have not been as focused on here's the body of work, get it done in the most efficient way you can. It's here's, you know, clock in, here's your desk, sit here for this many hours, get as much work done as you can sitting at that desk. We need to find ways to change that, because our measure of success is not how long your butt's in the seat. Our measure of success is how much value we're providing the public. And as we do that and we build in accountability for folks so that they can be working at their desk or in the field or wherever they happen to need to be that day, I think we'll continue to move toward that goal of being the best functioning government anywhere.
I think we're at the end of our time for questions. I'm going to play that back tomorrow. I love that.
While you're at home working?
Via my tablet. So I'm going to turn it back over to Executive Constantine as we close.
Thank you. Let's thank Sandy and our panelists. Before I leave, I want to let you know that I will be delivering in person the 2014 State of the County Address. It will be on Monday, this coming Monday, the 10th of February, at the White Center Heights Elementary School. It will be live streamed to our employees, so you can watch it on your desktop or laptop, tablet, or phone. And I really hope that folks will get a chance to watch it either live or sometime in repeat, so that you can have an idea at the high level of what we're looking forward to working on over the course of the next 4 years. I want to thank everyone for your questions. If your questions are still coming in and weren't answered here, they will be answered directly to you. And I hope that you'll continue to contribute your ideas for the next employee town hall. I think these are really fun and exciting topics, and that last one is worthy of an entire town hall all of its own. Thanks for everyone to everyone for being here today, and let's get back to work.